All right, you ready for your next comic? Yeah. All right, please give it up for the very funny Willis Lou, everybody.
Hey guys, so my name's Willis, and usually the first thing people say to me when my name is Willis is, "What you talking about, Willis?" First time I got that, I was 6 years old. I was in the first grade. Teacher was doing roll call. She's like, "Willis." 6-year-old me is like, "Present." And then she hits me with, the "What you talking about, Willis?" And I was so confused, I had to go home. I asked my dad, and my dad's just like, "It means you should study harder." Thanks, Dad. But yeah, now that I'm an adult and I'm a struggling comedian, he kind of has a point. I should have studied harder. Problem is, I like to play basketball too much. There was one night I was in the gym, late at night, I'm just working on my shot, and I'm alone, right? And then all of a sudden, these 3 black guys walked in, and they start shooting around on the other side of the court. And then, a little bit later, I hear someone say, "Hey, Ching Chong." I looked around. I thought my cousin had walked in. But no, they were talking to me. So I walked over to them, I'm like, "Yo, that's kind of racist." And the guy who said it is like, "Why? You can call us neighbors if you want." And in my head, I'm like, that's not gonna make things right. It's not gonna make me feel better. That's like a classic example of an eye for an eye, and that never works. Can you imagine someone's like mugging you, they're like, "Give me your money." And then afterwards he dusts himself off, he gets on the floor, and he's just like, "All right, your turn." It's not gonna make me feel better. Ridiculous. Anyways, I looked this man in the eye and I just said, "You're a neighbor." And it was cool. We played some 2-on-2. I even got his phone number at the end. I went home that night. I felt good. I rode that high into work the next morning. I just walked up to the first black guy I saw and I was like, "What's up, my neighbor?" Needless to say, I no longer work there. So, I've been living in Texas for about 4 years now, and I gotta say, this is by far my favorite state I've ever lived in. But recently, it's kind of been starting to change, and that's primarily due to the ban of a website I hold near and dear to my heart, Pornhub.com. Maybe I'm just getting older, but it's getting harder and harder to find new ways for old habits. I was trying to get a jerk in earlier, like 15 minutes ago, and I had found this website off of Google, and let me tell you, the experience is just not the same. The quality sucks, there's ads, and worst of all, it's missing the classic Pornhub intro. You know the one, right? It's like, down, 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 down. I miss that shit, man. So anyways, I'm mid-jerk. I'm getting kind of close. And then, boom, do you or a loved one have mesothelioma? Fuck! I can't even close the app because my hands are all lubed up. I'm using my mouth to try to like bite my mouse. I'm like, At this point, you're probably thinking, "Willis, why don't you just use your offhand?" Well, I'll tell you why. Because I require both hands to properly get off, okay? The stereotypes about Asian people having little dicks is just not true. I have a massive schlong that requires both hands to grip, okay? It makes me sad to think that there's a whole generation of teenagers here in Texas that are going to grow up never having experienced the glory of the hub. That's like growing up without Disneyland. Now, I have a hunch as to why Texas banned Pornhub. You see, Pornhub publishes these annual data insights, and this is like a legit report. It's not just a few blurbs and some data points. They've got charts, graphs, heat maps, trend analysis. Now, I'm a data scientist, so you can trust me on this one. I guess some stereotypes are true, huh? But back to my point. This is a crazy detailed report. And I'm just imagining there's some Harvard Business School graduate. He's presenting these topics to the Pornhub executive board. He's like, as you can see on slide 37, foot fetishes have now surpassed MILFs in market share. CEO of Pornhub just sitting there with his head in his hands. He's like, this is unacceptable, people. I want everyone in this room thinking about moms this weekend. In fact, marketing, get in here. I want ideas Monday. Some poor employee's working over the weekend. He's got foot fetishes on one monitor, MILFs on the other. His wife walks in. She's like, ew, what are you doing? She's confused, because he doesn't even have his dick out, right? He's literally just watching porn for research. And he goes, honey, it's not what you think. It's work, I swear. So the most interesting fact I saw from this annual data insights thing, right, is that the #1 most searched porn category of 2025 was this thing called hentai. And for those of you who aren't aware, hentai is Japanese animated porn. I've never looked it up, I swear. I maybe watched a few seconds strictly for research purposes, okay? But anyway, some Texas lawmaker definitely got this report on his desk about the hentai takeover. And he's definitely just like, what the hell is this shit? This must be revenge for the nukes. Next thing you know, bye-bye Pornhub. On a brighter note, I got approached for advice the other day. Yeah, I was at the supermarket. I was in the sweet potato section, picking out some sweet potatoes. And this guy approaches me, he goes, excuse me, sir, can you help me pick out a sweet potato? I was flattered. I've never been mistaken for an expert in anything. So I was, of course, glad to help. Unfortunately for this guy, he asked a comedian. And my first instinct is not to help people. It's to make myself laugh. So I say to him, show me what you got. And he shows me this sweet potato. And I start feeling it, like I know what I'm doing. And I say, you want one that's nice and firm. Soft is a no-go. Me, personally, I prefer mine a little on the thicker end. When I grab it and my fingertips don't touch, I'm a little disappointed. He soaks it all in and he goes, so does size matter? I say to him, people will tell you no, but everyone has their own preferences. You should buy several, experiment with all different kinds of shapes and sizes. That's the only way you're gonna know what you like. At this point, we've been talking for like 5 minutes, right? There's a small crowd that's been gathered around. Apparently, I'm now giving a TED Talk on sweet potatoes. I overhear this older couple talking, and this lady, she says to her husband, honey, you gotta feel this one. It's both thick and hard. And look at all the veins on the side. The husband looks at it. He's got an unimpressed look on his face. And he says, yeah, but this one's longer. I saw that same couple at checkout later. They had like 6 sweet potatoes in their cart. I smiled to myself and I was just like, my neighbor. Thank you all, that's my time.